All right, let's get started. So, Module 3, Mastering Evolution Phase 1. Okay, going into this, there's a lot. Okay, so, before we get into this, I do want to say, take notes, ask questions. If something's burning a hole in your brain and you can't wait, ask me. It's going to help me flow. Okay? So, chaos to proven process. This is the phase that most people miss. This is phase 1. This is 0 to about $200,000, $300,000 a month, and this is where you are going to build any foundation, if at all, for $1 million months. Okay? Yes?
Can you say that this is what you would consider from 100 to a quarter mil?
This is 0 to 200,000. Yep. So, in this phase, Brian, this is going to be good stuff for you. Zen, you as well. There's a couple people in here. If you guys are creating and doing new things or building from an early stage, this is what you need to pay attention to a lot. Okay? So essentially, to make it very, very simple, you're going to be going from doing it yourself, right? Building the process, proving that process. You're going to start teaching it to people. That's your feedback loop. You've now brought people into something that you did yourself. Nobody's going to be able to sell like you, especially if you're the owner, if you're the founder, right? So what you do is not going to necessarily work for everybody that you bring in, which means you're going to have to get better at teaching it, which means that's your feedback, okay? Once you get that feedback, you're going to build some small systems. Think manual process, think Sheets, Google Sheets. This is where you're going to start, okay? From there, you're going to go into managing it after you start teaching it, right? Managing it is going to be a completely different world if you don't do this stuff, okay? Now, there are basically 3 things that can happen from each phase. That's it. You're either going to do what it needs to be done to actually get all these things in place. You're going to create everything that you need to create, get that documentation down, right? Get the processes to where they're working. Think minimal viable product, okay? So when it comes to marketing, sales, CRM, whatever it is, you're not going 10x on any of these pieces. You're getting them MVP in place, okay? There's 3 ways that you can go about this. You can hit the next stage, and you can be ready to build, go into phase 2. You can sit right here, and you're going to eventually burn out, meaning you don't create this stuff. You're having issues, right? You delegate something too early. You try and jump into building a monster machine system, right? Or you're going to drop down and have to try again. And you're going to have to start back to teaching it. You're going to have to start back to managing it. You're going to have to start back to doing it. Whatever the case may be, you're going to go back a couple steps, okay? Now, in this phase, like I talked about earlier, the first about $50,000 to $100,000, depending on what you're selling, is you. Or your partner, or whoever's responsible for this in your company, okay? I'm going to go into this, but whoever's doing this is one of the most important things that you're going to do, okay? This is you actually building, doing, creating, trying things. You're basically starting to prove whatever it is that you're doing in sales and that it works. There's a lot of times that we get, not necessarily companies we work with, but they come to us and they say, we want to build a sales team. And I say, awesome. What sources for leads do you have? And they say, oh, we don't really have, like, can't we just buy leads? No, dude, that doesn't work. Like, I mean, you could, but like, you haven't even called these leads. Do you know they're good? No, but like this guy said they're awesome and I'm just going to buy them and I want to get a bunch of salespeople in and they're going to start selling. No, they're fucking not. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. Okay? Now, because of that, right, they don't ever get the opportunity to build a team. And the reason is because, quite frankly, they just don't want to do the work that it takes to actually get this proven. Okay? The fact that all you guys are here means you're all probably interested in making sure this works. It means you need to take 100% responsibility of this first period. Now, once you get everything proven, you start building out processes, you start documenting shit. You got stuff all over the place. Got some in Lucid, some in Whimsical, some in Google, some in wherever. Stuff's kind of all over the place. You're then going to start teaching it. Now, when you bring in your first couple people, which we're going to talk about, as you start teaching it, this is where you start to optimize, okay? Let's think about a product. Justin, You build a product. It's the first next step. After you build something, you're brand new, you're building a product, info product. What happens? You sell it to the first couple people.
Get your beta clients in.
Get your beta clients in. Why are you doing beta clients?
To test it to see what holes there are and build it around your ideal clients.
100%. Why don't you do the same thing with your sales teams? Your sales teams. It's the exact same thing. If you build a product and you place it out there, you're looking for feedback to make it better. 100%. That's the process. Everybody understands that. With your sales team, it's the exact same thing. You're building a product, which is the opportunity to come sell for you and the process and the way that you do it. You bring people in to do it, you start teaching it, and they're giving you all the feedback you need to make it better. Okay? That is doing it, teaching it. Now, once you get that feedback, you put it in place, you start getting better at teaching it, and now you've got a little bit of a structure. Okay? Got some setters, got a closer or two. You're technically the sales lead, which we're going to go over these definitions. You're now starting to manage people. Okay? You're doing the meetings, you're setting the goals, you're doing everything. You're training them, you're onboarding them, you're recruiting them, you're doing everything. Okay? And as you're doing that, they're watching you, and they're watching how you do it. So if you're not doing these things, guess what? You're not going to have anybody to step up to push you to the next phase. Okay? So, go to the next phase. You're responsible for everything in phase 1. All right? Building, optimizing assets, training the team, diving into sales, revenue, setting expectations, accountability, recruiting, hiring, and firing. I want to go back to one point. One of the biggest pieces that happens in this phase is you get your first couple people together, you get through everything, and then you don't set any kind of accountable expectations. Meaning they don't have KPIs, they don't have anything, you don't set anything up. They're just doing it basically whatever they want, when they want, how they want. You can do that sub 200K a month very easily. People can show up, they're kind of into meetings, they're kind of not, they're doing different things. You don't set this in phase 1, you're not going to be able to set it at all without hemorrhaging pretty hard. Okay? So, most common pitfalls: lack of proven process, delegation of sales leadership too soon, lack of reasonable expectations being set, or no expectations being set at all. Okay? When you first start your team, you're going to want to hire friends, which is cool. That's what I did. Literally, that story I was telling earlier, the connected story, I hired 15 of my friends from high school as my first group. And they did nothing but set appointments to me, and I was on about 10, 15 closing calls a day for about a month. There was no expectation except for, you do this, I do this. That was it. Okay? Moving on. We're going to basically, we're proving the process right now. We're going to go through role specifics: setter, closer, sales lead, sales director. We're going to go through the promotion process, recruiting process, onboarding and training process, offboarding, meeting cadence, payroll, systems. Okay, that's what we're about to cover. We're going to go quick. All right. Role description, KPIs, compensation, and milestones. All right. So there's a couple factors, which I'm going to go through here in a second, when it comes to compensation. And I've seen pretty much everything you can think of. If you close X amount of deals, you go to this. And then if you close these amount of deals, you go to that. And then if you do this and you close them in this amount of time, you get this percentage. And if you do X amount of revenue, we're going to give you this thing. And yeah, it's not going to work. It may work when you have 3, 4, 5 people, but when you have 30, 40, 50 people, good luck. You're going to be the liar that never gives bonuses, and all of your incentivization, all of your motivation to your team is going to go out the window. Okay? So, comp plan, simple, clearly outlined. Very simple. Not complicated. Meaning get away from the commission hikes, the jumps, you do X amount, you get X amount, this, that. Make it simple in the beginning. If you try and go crazy, whatever, it's just going to break. And we're going to show you how to go crazy with keeping it simple. Okay? Next, need performance-based. Obviously, everybody's in sales for a reason. If you're capping them, like, doesn't make sense, especially for everybody in this room as far as the sizes that you go at. There is a time and point where sometimes, depending on industry, it does make sense. Lined with KPIs, you have no idea how many sales compensation plans I see that are not even aligned to anything that they're being held expected to. Their KPIs are show up for this meeting, put this report in end of day, do this thing, do that thing. They're here to make money. Like, you have to build case studies in phase one. You have to build testimonials. We talked about building it like a product. What do you get from beta clients? Case studies. What do you need from your first couple sales team members? Testimonials. Case studies. It's the same damn thing. Quite literally. You have to get testimonials. You want good talent? Show somebody making money. The biggest jump we ever made, and Chris can attest to this, is one of our guys early on in the story that I was talking about earlier with Connected. He went out and bought like this bright orange, brand new, or not brand new, but old, like vintage Mustang. Literally got his like $25,000 commission check, made the same amount whatever before, and he went out and bought a car. And he took a video. Guess what? That opened the frickin' floodgates. It was game over. Everyone was like, whoa, what are you doing? How much you making? Kind of like that Wolf of Wall Street, I'll quit my job right now, you show me that check. Yeah. That's basically what's going to start happening as long as you do it right. Okay, people are going to start asking you, you're going to start getting people interested, and if you have a game plan for them when they do ask you, it's going to make it a lot easier. Recognition. What happens when your best closer is making so much goddamn money and they are all set, they don't really need any more money, but they're getting bored? Recognition. Let that sink in. Recognition. It's going to be your second currency for your sales team. If people aren't recognized, they're going to burn out. At some point, for me, let's say I was still doing sales. I'm going to make a lot of money. I'm good at sales. At some point in the company, when the company's growing, expanding, glowing, getting all this recognition, doing all these different things, if that doesn't roll down to your team, people are going to leave. They're going to leave. Your comp plan needs to have a plan in place for recognition. It's got to. It is literally a part of your compensation packet, your compensation plan, to make sure that the team has recognition. And if you want to build leaders, and you want to get people to basically not take credit but give credit to whoever's below them, this is how you do it, recognition. Oh, Ben Marone's company is 300 on the whatever, blah, 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 fastest growing, et cetera, et cetera. He's up on stage, a podcast, they ask him about it. Actually, you know what? It was this guy, Justin. He came in, he grew the shit out of our sales team, like would not have been able to do it without him. That's what I'm talking about. You roll that recognition down. Guess what Justin does when he gets the spotlight? Actually, man, it was this guy named Harrison, like, just happened. When your whole company is giving credit and not trying to take credit, that's when you're going to start developing people. And people are going to start developing fast. It's not just about the money. If you want a culture of recognition, okay? Now, going from recognition, visible progress. Sales is competition. Sales is like being on a sports team, especially if you got a good team. Progress needs to be visible, which we're going to talk about. Consistent, doesn't change. You want to piss off your sales team, change the comp package. Do it. Not going to be fun. Promise you. You're going to lose a lot of people. All right, competition. So phase one, we're going to implement a simple, clearly defined, performance-based compensation plan that scales without major adjustments. Implement a form of recognition when hitting small milestones. Okay. Phase two, we're going to implement a competitive future-paced bonus, which we're going to talk about. And then phase three, we're going to implement a record holder leaderboard. All right. Make it cool. Sweet. A couple examples. So when I say future-paced bonuses, what do I mean? I mean, instead of just giving them a big check and saying, congrats for doing X, here you go, and then they get lazy for the next 2 weeks, we do future-paced bonuses. And I'm going to give a few examples. So, this is me in Austin. Okay? So 0%, and this is Chris holding and handing off his record holder bat to Ben Marone right here. Okay? So at Connected, what we did is we had milestones inside of the comp plan. Milestone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And every single Friday or end of month, whenever somebody would hit that milestone, we would sign a big fat check about this big in front of the entire team and hand it to them. What was the caveat? You can't cash a big fake check. Okay, so what happened with it? They put it up on their wall, they stared at it for about 6 weeks, and they didn't get the small check for this check until they hit their next milestone. Fired people up. People were there till 2, 3 in the morning if that's what it took to hit their next milestone before the next basically recognition ceremony. Okay? So that was one of the first future-paced bonuses I ever did that absolutely crushed. Yeah.
So that's in person. What would you recommend for like Zoom sales teams?
Do the same thing. You don't need to give them a big check. But if you have it open, was that? You could. Yeah. I mean, there's ways of thinking about this, which we can flush out when we're workshopping, but if on Friday, end of the month, Justin, you say, Aaron, congrats, man, like you hit milestone 1, like you only need $150,000 more until you get this $5,000 bonus, whatever the case might be, whatever you're thinking of, all they're thinking about is making sure they hit their next milestone. And that is what a future-paced bonus is. And if you can get in basically the hang of creating future-paced bonuses and future basically alignment to what you want as a company goal, but also with them, you're going to do a lot better. Okay? So, yes?
Those two emphasize on the importance of the actual physical check or any physical thing is that it captures the meaning that you want to transfer to them. Anything like that, like a trophy or a medal, that's what it says. It captures the meaning of that accomplishment. And it guides their thinking. So
They see it. Yes?
So, to explain the future-based bonus a little bit better,
Mm-hmm.
it's a goal you set for your sales team that if they hit, they don't get paid till they get the next bonus?
There's different types, okay? So I'm going to go over the next one because it'll help you kind of understand. So future-paced bonus number 1, right? They've got their normal compensation. Connor, do you still have any of these checks? Yeah. 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 They're still up around the office? Yeah. So future-paced example number 1, right? There's a milestone. They get the recognition of coming up, walking up. We're signing the check, handing it off. Everybody's clapping, right? They know they're about 50% to actually getting the physical check, okay? So they're getting recognized for meeting a milestone, right? They get paid out on reaching their next one, okay?
So it's basically like back pay on a previous bonus? I'm trying to understand.
Yeah, no, you're good. All right, so they've got their regular comp. Let's say one of your reps, right, milestone 1 is 100 new accounts, okay, specifically for you, okay? So at 100K or 100 new accounts, right, they get big check, right, say $2,000, okay? This is their basically milestone that they meet, right? And you're recognizing them for meeting that milestone. Welcome to the 100 account club, whatever you want to call it, okay? But there's also milestone number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, etc. They don't get the actual payout for this until they meet their next milestone. So what you're doing, and what we did, is these guys are looking at this $3,000 check every day. It's sitting in front of their face. You can do it in different ways, right? And they know they have $50,000, $40,000, $30,000 until that check actually becomes a cashable check. And guess what? What happens when they hit number 2? They get their next massive check, and it's hanging right next to their first one.
So the check is a bonus?
Yeah, it's a bonus.
Wait, so
let's say they earn the $2,000 big check, they don't get to cash it out until they hit the next one.
Correct.
So it's almost like a delayed bonus then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It's basically giving them something physical, saying, hey, here's your $3,000, congrats. However, you don't get this paid out until you hit your next milestone.
Are there any, like, because I've heard, like, if you give a salesperson a Ferrari and you say you need to hit these goals, or we'll take it away, that person will work way harder than, hey, if you hit these goals, work for the Ferrari. So,
Come work with it. So,
what are your thoughts on that, like taking it away, or like giving
you don't want to take it away, dude. I mean, it's like they worked for this. It's theirs. They just need to hit their next milestone, right? So that's example number one. Example number two is pod structure, which I'm going to go quickly through. Go back here. Okay. So as you get pod structures, right, future pace bonus, let's say there's 2 of these, which there will be. I'll show you guys in a second. When they're competing, you've got sales lead 1, sales lead 2. It's me versus Riley, okay? We're competing head to head. I'm sales lead number 1. Riley kicks my ass. He collects more cash than me, right? Riley gets a slight commission increase for the entirety of next month. What is it? It's bonus. Is it realized yet? No. But if I gave Riley and his whole team each $2,000, $3,000 checks, whatever, they're going to take that to the bank, and then first week of next month is going to be slow as shit. That's how it works. Just how people are. They've already got their commission check. They're good. They'll bust ass in 2 weeks when they need to. So I realized this, and what we started doing is their bonuses were earned in the next month with a slight increase in commissions. So if they're at 10%, they're now at 12.5% for the entirety of next month. So if they did 100,000 cash collected, let's say earned 10K in commissions, and then they do the same thing next month, they get a $2,500 bonus. It's earned. Make sense?
So it's a bonus by hitting the same thing before the end of the month, pretty much.
It's a bonus for whatever you make it to be. You have a 2%, 3%, 5%, whatever you can actually do, depending on how you set up your comp plan, increase on commission for the winning team of the month, okay? So if I win January, right, that means next month I have a 2.5% increase on whatever I do that gets added to my commission.
Just on the winning team.
Just on the winning team. And that rolls across your entire team. So if team 1 wins, right, Riley's going absolutely apeshit, so is his entire team, because now, you know, a $10,000 sale isn't worth $1,000, it's $1,250. Right? And the other team, who's doing the exact same thing, is 2.5% below them. And they go head to head every single month, battling back and forth for that, basically crown to wear for the commission increase. Okay? Going back. All right, record holder. I don't know if this will play. Yeah, well, great. So,
0%.
what's up?
Why do you call it 0%?
It's just a company. Yeah, different companies. So, this is actually, I don't know where Chris is, but Chris is handing off a physical bat. The meaning of that bat was the largest deal closed in record history, or company history. When Ben broke the record, Chris had to sign the bat, hand it off to Ben. Ben signed his name, dated it, and gets to hold on to it until somebody else takes it from him. Yes?
Question. So we have our team is across the country, so we go like some of us here.
Mm-hmm.
We're thinking about having a local team. If you had a choice, would you make the choice about having something local so you can create that culture, and would it be ideal?
It depends. It depends. These companies were like fraternity-styled like locker rooms. And I'm not joking. It was insanely good for these sales teams. However, I will say, at the same time, this would not work unless somebody like myself or somebody was driving that type of energy and that culture every day. So for a lot of people, like remote is going to work just fine. You just take these same concepts and figure out a way to actually put a process around them. And the difference between us being able to hand off a bat and like mailing something or doing something along those lines, like the only difference is you got to put a little more energy in if you're remote. Meaning you as the manager need to make sure that stuff is happening. Because if you put it in place, talk about it, and then the first person to take over the bat doesn't get the bat, like it's game over from there. None of that shit matters anymore. Go ahead.
I'll also say, in terms of having a remote sales team versus in person, when Aaron started Connected, it seems like he knew a lot of the people that he was working with, so you were already able to foster that culture. When you're hiring a remote sales team, it's better to find like top talent all across the U.S. and be able to build a culture remotely.
Yep.
So like if you don't already have good sales reps, the benefit to having a remote company is being able to hire the top sales reps and then figuring out how to build the culture from there.
Yep. And one thing I'll point out, every single one of these teams that you see in the office and that you will see in the office, they all started remote. We were hitting 3, 4, we were up in multiple 6 figures a month before we went into offices.
One thing I'm curious about, kind of ballpark, what did it take and cost to bring a whole team in person?
A lot. When we were in Brickell, the office space was about $25,000, $30,000 a month. At Connected, the office was like 30 grand a month, plus the smaller office, plus we were giving people bonuses. Everybody who was in this office was from Florida, essentially. So everybody's moving from Florida to Indiana.
That was a lot of stuff for you guys.
What's up?
Did you have any regrets on having everything in person?
Not at that period. I'm sure maybe like now there's different ways to do it. I've never seen a company that goes into office stay in office, ever. So I will keep that in mind. I think, so proximity is powerful, right? Proximity is super powerful. So if you do have the opportunity to get people together and keep them around the same area and in the same space, yeah, you're gonna be able to grow faster. It's just, that's kind of how it works. However, like at the same time, you need to kind of build that remote styled piece first. And to what Joe was saying is if you go office first and you start trying to build your sales team before you have proof, before you have case studies, before you have testimonials, before you have all these people going crazy and doing whatever, you're going to be limiting yourself to like whatever you can get. So I would say unless you actually have a little bit of the culture already today, don't even think about going in office. Because it's just going to make it worse. Riley.
So I think there's a lot of like obviously business owners here that are questioning like splitting up their teams in half. They think it might create a little animosity. They're like, oh no, I want this to be a culture of togetherness. So could you touch on more as to why we would split teams, specifically a sales team, and face them against each other when that's kind of counter to culture nowadays?
Yes. And I will go into that, but not right now. Yes.
And so that's kind of like the whole, you hear about sales teams competing against each other, and then one goes to Vegas and they hit the higher numbers.
100%. Yeah. I mean, dude, if you look at any Valuetainment PHP, right? I was at their sales leadership event maybe like 2-3 months ago. He probably talked about for an hour how they incentivize their sales teams and their pods and their people and they were giving away Ferraris, Lamborghinis, first class flights to Bali with whoever you wanted, like all these different things for whoever won the competitions. Like, sales is boring if there's no competition. Like, if you're literally just sitting there calling all day and your team is sitting there calling all day and they don't have any way to like be like, yo, Riley, I passed you up today. Like, what's up? Like, what you got? Like, it's just boring. You have to create something for them to actually live off of, work off of, right? Like, it's just like being on a sports team. If you just showed up with no competition, like you were never going to play anybody else. Imagine if you just practiced every single day. Why would you even play? Like, it's at some point when you become good, you want to compete. And salespeople, really good salespeople, the personalities, we're going to go over some of those personalities in a second, they want to compete. They just do. And that's also how you drive the ability to develop people way faster than you ever could. Competition. Yeah.
Or human desire for conquering.
100%, yeah. And it also drives collaboration. So like what Riley just talked about is like, if you have a big blob of people and there's no competition, Why would these people work together every day? Why are they going to talk to each other every day? They're probably not. Maybe so, sometimes. But if you start to put pods in, and you take 5 people and 5 people, guess what they're going to be doing every day? Collaborating, talking, figuring out ways to beat the other team. Yeah.
No, it's when you implement the box structure, that helps our goals.
100%. Yeah.
Can it get like a bit toxic at times? Have you seen that ever happen?
Yeah. 100%. It's your job to control that.
What do you think are kind of the telltale signs about starting to occur?
So we are going to talk about this a little bit later. I'll touch on it real quick. When you take your best closer and put them in a position of management, and you don't clearly define what this is, you're going to have issues. This is not a manager. They are not management. They are not the person that gets to tell everybody what to do and talk down to people and do these things, and they're not a manager. They are the captain. They're getting told the plays, they run the plays. They're great at shooting, they're great at passing, they're great at doing whatever they got to do, right, on the court. But this is not who's calling the plays. And what starts to happen when you do start to put these things in is like you get sales lead A and sales lead B, right? This person starts winning too much, he starts getting a big head, starts talking down to everybody, and yeah, stuff gets problematic. And you need to have a process in place, which we're going to talk about, because this is interchangeable. If a closer gets voted in, they take the sales lead slot. So we're going to talk about what that is. But their spot is not secure. It's not locked in. You're not a sales lead and you just get to sit there and be the sales lead. Like, you have to earn it with the team. So it's one of the biggest problems that we'll talk about in phase 2 is when you take your best closer and put them into management, what do you think happens? Maybe. Where the hell are your sales going to come from?
He also gets upset at everyone because they can't perform as well.
Why would he even be in management? Most of the time, your top sales closer, your top revenue cash maker is not going to be a good manager. Why? Because they don't give a shit. They're there to make money. And then you give them 6 new people in a new hiring class to help train, and they're not closing anymore. It's not going to work. So where your best managers and your best actual management are going to come from is probably right around in the middle of the pack. They're more organized, they're more empathetic, they care about people more, right? They like developing people more. They're not just going out trying to close deals, right? They understand it, they're good at it, but they're not at the top of the leaderboard. If you have 10 people, your best management is going to come between like 5 and like 8. We're going to talk about that. Cool.
Real quick.
Yes.
Going off of that, the diagram you have for kind of the hierarchy,
Mhm.
setup, what would you say is the structure after the sales team up 2 positions?
So we're going to talk about that as we go through. What you're going to notice is basically I'm putting you guys in this bucket right now. Okay? So you're here. The next step for you is to go to a true sales director position. The next step for you is to get out.
It follows into my next question was to understand your processes from bottom up, right?
Yep.
Promoting somebody that started from the ground up, I'm all for that. So trying to understand if you're saying your closer, your best closer is probably not the best person to put into the sales lead, then per se, who do you look for, who do you filter through to put in that position that eventually...
So let me delineate that. Your best closer will be your sales lead, not your manager. Okay, so when you're looking for a sales director, you're looking for a management position or something along those lines where they're truly doing management, right? They're looking through goals, they're doing hiring, firing, they're doing performance reviews, stuff along those lines. That's not going to be your best closer. Your sales lead should 100% be the shining star of your freaking sales team.
How does the dynamic between the sales lead and then the director of sales, what's that relationship? Because I feel like if the director of sales isn't the best, is that what's coming up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So first thing first, I want to do this with you guys real quick. We're going to take a very short break after this, and then we're going to go into a lot of what you guys are asking. So who here has a process for actually setting KPIs, aligning them with comp, and actually building that out. Crystal, is it the one that I gave you?
No, I mean,
Okay.
I'm very used to doing that, like NDOs, all of that.
Mhm.
For the sales team, this is a new setup for me.
Mhm.
The process I do have, I've always had the goals very specific to the goals, so
Okay.
I have a process.
Yeah. Oh, I got you. Okay. Jordan? Cool. All right. So, let me see here. Great. All right. So you guys are going to get access to this a little bit later, but I'm going to go into it now so you guys can see and I can explain. Get this to load. Let's see. Fantastic. What's up? You can in just a second. All right, so when you guys are setting KPIs, this is step one, obviously. As you guys go through, you start proving the process, you guys start building what you're building, it starts to work. The next step is to actually figure out what the hell expectations are going to be, and are they realistic? A lot of times when people start setting KPIs, they have no idea. They shoot numbers out there, their sales team's pissed off, can't hit this, it's not possible. You're pissed off because they're not doing it. And in reality, your process, your system just has absolutely no ability to actually hit these numbers. Okay? So as you guys are building, right, we're looking for basically a formula that we can create these basically KPIs off of. Okay? This is what we're going to start with. So as setters, right, we want to essentially build in our process to then align with our compensation package, to then align with our basically earnings, our monthly medians, our yearly medians. You want to be able to set this properly when people come in, which then leads into the closer comp plan and closer KPIs and everything along those lines. Why are we doing this now? Because we're going to build promotion ladders and how they actually get promoted later. Okay? So all of this stuff to say is, does anybody have these things written down, numbered out, set up properly, and in a document that can be visually shared and shown to them from day one when making hires? Cool. Jordan, of course you do. This is something you guys have to have. If you're starting a team, you guys have to have these things. This is the boring shit that I was talking about. It has to be in place. If you can't sit somebody down, take them through, look, you're going to make X amount of calls, right? Those X amount of calls are going to turn into this. This is going to turn into that. This is our average cash collection. This is what you're going to do. This is what your compensation is going to look like. By the way, if you're in this red zone here, or you're in our expected KPIs, or if you're in the green zone, this is how long it's going to take you to get to promotion. This is how long it's going to take you to hit your bonuses. This is how long it's going to take you to do X. You don't plan for them. They don't know what they're expected to do. And guess what's going to happen? When you have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 salespeople on your team, every single month, at the end of the month, hey Zane, can I become a closer? Can I be a closer? How do I become a closer? And guess what? You're going to answer, and you're probably not going to be able to deliver on that. Like, yeah, we'll see how you do. Like, we'll give you a couple calls. You don't need a closer right now. And what you'll notice is as we start to wrap up towards the end of the day, is these numbers are how you build your growth plan. Meaning how you go from pod 1 to pod 2 to pod 3 to actually get yourself out is all on result of how quickly you guys can get people to hit these numbers and basically what percentage you can hold people to. So if 80% of your pod is hitting KPI, you're ready for a new pod. Okay? And that is how you plan to actually hire. So instead of just saying, I'm going to do a bunch of recruitment rounds and hire a bunch of people and get them in, you have a plan. You need 4 people, you need them at this metric, this is what they're expected to do, and if they don't hit this, I need to replace them. Most people hire, go with the flow, see what they can do. If they kind of do good, it's all right, but you don't have any kind of standard for your position in which you need them to do. Okay? Now, once you guys get your percentages, as far as setting the KPIs for a setter, 3 to 4 max. 3 to 4 max. That's it. Do not go crazy. Do not give them 16, 35, 43 KPIs to actually run with. Simple. Calls, set closing calls, right? Difference between discovery, closing call, closing is going to a closer, right? What's the show percentage of what they set? What's the cash collected month that they need to hit? That simple. Okay, we're going to talk about red zone, green zone a little bit. What you're going to be able to do with that, drop it in the compensation package, okay? It's a very simple comp package you guys can all follow. If you guys are starting setters, if you're going to bring on setters, very, very simple. You've got commission, how much cash they collect, that's what they get paid. This is something, especially early on when people aren't, obviously, you don't have a strong closer, you're still taking closing calls or whatever the case may be, and they need to be able to make money on a day-to-day basis. You'll introduce something called a kicker, okay, especially for setters. Kicker, every time they set a call and it shows up, they get paid. If you're doing outbound, if you're doing cold stuff, and you have setters, and they're reliant on the closer to make all of their income for them because they set a bunch of appointments and the closer doesn't close, it's going to be a little bit problematic. So, if you're doing outbound or high volume or whatever the case may be, or something like you are doing specifically, a kicker is going to help you a ton. It replaces salary, it's performance-based, right? If they set 5, 6, 7, 8 calls a day, they're making a couple $100 a day, right? As long as they show up, and it's driven directly to their KPIs. Okay? A lot of people grab setters, throw them in, have them set for closers that are fresh, and guess what happens? Your setters leave because they go on to the next thing. Go ahead.
I see a bunch of people trying to take a photo of it. Everyone will get a copy of that.
Yeah, you guys are all going to get this stuff. Yep. Next piece, milestone bonuses. So this is important that you guys start to understand because this is how your promotion process is going to start to get built. This is how you're going to start to do your future paced bonuses. Milestone bonuses, okay? As they progress, and think of milestones in 3-month time frames. First 3 months from start to milestone 1 should be met. So when they start, when they get hired, they should be able to hit milestone 1 in 3 months. Okay? Milestone 2, 3 months after that. Milestone 3, 3 months after that. No longer than a year. Okay? This is what you're directing them to when they start. Hey, these are your KPIs. This is what you're going to be going for. This is what we expect. This is what you need to be doing. This is how you're going to be doing it. And by the way, this is how you get to the next position. Everything with the sales team and everything you're creating during this phase 1 is how to get people to work for the role that they want, not the role they have. If you can get everybody on your team thinking, how do I go to the next level? How do I get to the next level? That's how you're going to scale extremely quickly through phase 1 and phase 2. So stuff like this, very important. Why? Because this is how you start to build everything else that we're going to talk about. Okay? Once you get the commission packages, you've got your KPIs. Very, very, very easy, very simple. You're going to give them their medians. Okay? What happens if you're below average? What happens if you're expected? What happens if you're above? How much money are you going to make it? A lot of people hire and they say, oh, you could be making $300,000 a year. And then the person ends up at $100,000 and they feel like they're completely losing, except they're actually the best person that the company's ever had and nobody's ever made $100,000 before. People do this all the time. Okay? So you guys will get a copy of this. Any questions on this, real quick?
I know you're going to go into between setters, closers, and
Mm-hmm.
for an early starting company.
Mm-hmm.
Do you suggest you actually fill those voids, or you kind of compound everything into one position, a setter, closer, and then sales?
For you, you're going to start full cycle. Yep. So the way that, and we'll talk to you about this. We're about to take a break, and I'll come talk to you about it. In the beginning, especially if you're doing a lot of outbound, it's cold outbound, full cycle is typically the way to go. Okay? If you are an inbound company, meaning you are driving leads into you, you should start with a set close process, because if you are getting leads inbound and you start to build everything full cycle, you're building your whole process, your whole system, everything around people that are going start to finish with a sale. When if you want to scale, and you really want to scale, you're going to have to go to a set close model. So for you, it's going to be a little different. And in that first pod structure, you're going to start to delineate towards the end of it, which I'll talk to you about. But that's actually a really good question. It also depends on the industry, the product you're selling, et cetera.
You can expand from that a little bit?
Yeah. Yep, 100%. Any other questions about this? Yep.
For the milestones, do those reset? So like once they hit milestone 1, do they go back to like, is it another 250K they have to collect from there? Is it like 150K they have to collect from there?
So there's a couple different ways to do it, which I am, let me go into this next slide here, and then we're going to take a break to work with some of you guys on a few things here. Let me get into this real quick. All right, let's see here. Yep.
Do you forbid your setters to close their own deal? Or like is there, if they're not getting paid as a closer? One of the things I've run into in the past is like, if the setters are trying to close any of the layups or like the deals that are super qualified, then basically the closers get stuck only dealing with the super difficult clients. And that creates a little bit of animosity between the setter closers.
Expectations you're setting right now. Your job is to get them on this person's calendar, right? I think one of the biggest things when like that comes to play is like, if you let setters say, hey, if you think you can close it, you're screwed. You're screwed. Like, you're gonna be dropping balls, you're gonna be leaving a ton of money on the table, setters are gonna start trying to close. If they start having a good conversation, they're not gonna move it to a closer. Like, it's just confusing. The way that we're going to lay this out, and this is why I'm showing this, we're not going to go into this fully in depth, but it's going to answer a lot of your questions. When people hit their milestones, that is part of basically the objective of the promotion process. Okay? So what we're going to do after we take this workshop is essentially we're going to build out the milestones and the objective points in between each role that allows them to be eligible for promotion. Okay? So when a setter comes in, crushes it, hits 100K, 200K, 300K, 500K, does all the things, get all the recordings, hits all of the objectives, they're basically going to start moving over. They're going to get recognition. Hey, you've hit all of your objectives, right? They're essentially going to take a training and assessment, which I'm going to show you guys how to create. Once they complete that, they're going over to the pool for promotion. Okay? So your point is to build a pool with those milestones, not to reset them every year for people to constantly go back through, right? Now, I say that with a caveat because there are expectations where like you do have a setter who literally just is so good at setting they don't want to move. It's not going to happen very often, but it can. Okay? So somebody hits milestone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever the case, whatever you build. They get all the recordings that they're supposed to get, drop them in the folder, they take the assessment, rewrite their setting script. We're having them build out all of the optimized training material for you guys in the assessment, right? They're going to go over to the promotion pool, and when it's time to move somebody up, you got a pool ready basically to pull from, okay? So we're going to go into that in just a second. With that being said, Icon, we're going to start the first workshop and let everybody take a break, and then, let's see, 5 minutes.